Alhamdulillah wa syukurillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'du. My dear brother, Dato Johari and Ibu, welcome to our university and all my colleagues. Well, let me share briefly the story of the establishment of this university. Before we establish, or we can say that within the step of this process of establishment, we conducted to visit many top universities in the world, be in Middle East, America, Japan, Australia, and others. And one among them was we visited UIE, Universitas Antarbangsa. I don't know how to name it in Malay. That's Islam Antarbangsa, UIE. Yes, I remember. We have been visiting there, and we learn a lot from this university. We envy Malaysia. Really, I envy that you have so many good universities which have international reputation. And some of my lecture also coming from Malay. They are Indonesian, but they have been working in Malay. They got a lot of experience in being a student lecturer in Malay. And therefore, I think that we together, this university and Malay University, can share together and introducing and promoting South Asian culture, especially Malay and Indonesia. Because we know that actually Indonesia and Malay share so many similar culture and ideas and religious tradition, and Southeast Asia is well known as the melting pot countries in terms of culture, ideas, and history. Therefore, I'm very happy to have you here. I hope that it is the good step for us to move forward together, having cooperation with Malay University, especially UIE and other universities. I'm sure that Indonesia and Malaysia can have good cooperation. It has been said that 19th century is the European century, and 20th century it is American century. As for 21st century, it is ASEAN century. So today, my friend, colleague, brother and sister, we are going to hear what is the argument, the indicator, or maybe the evidence, or the reason that the 20th century is ASEAN century. We have to, well, for me especially, I used to read that it is that the words move to the east, as it is stated in the Quran, watilkal ayam nudawiluha bainan nas. The heyday of the nation, of the country and ethnic, it is circulated by God among those nations. Nudawiluha bainan nas. And it is our turn. It is the turn for ASEAN century. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we are very happy today. We are going to listen from the experts speaker. What are the reasons that next century it is ASEAN century? To examine, to validate those ideas, and I hope that Triple IU will take part on this new paradigm of ASEAN century. Enjoy the seminar, and I'm sure that you will get enlightened and envisioned after and being here listening our great speaker. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Sri Dato Johari bin Abdul as the speaker, and Dr. Phillips J. Fermonte, the Dean of the IIIU Faculty of Social Sciences, as the moderator to chair this session. Dr. Fermonte, the time is yours.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to echo what Professor Komarudin Hidayat has said. Welcome to university and welcome to this public lecture. I have the honor to introduce our guest speaker and also to chair the session that will follow. Let me start by reading out Yang Dipertua Dewan Rakyat Tan Sri Dato Johari bin Abdul CV. Tan Sri Dato Johari bin Abdul is the current Yang Dipertua Dewan Rakyat in Malaysia. As a trained administrative and diplomatic officer, he served numerous federal departments, including the Malaysian Student Department in Los Angeles, USA. Yang Berhormat Tan Sri Dato Johari's foray in politics began in 1992. He was the founding member of the People's Justice Party, Parti Keadilan. In 2008, he became the Member of Parliament for Sungai Petani and served until October 2022. He was the party whip from 2013 to 2018. He was chairman of the Parliamentary Special Select Committee on Security and a member of the Kedah State Legislative Assembly. Yang Berhormat Tan Sri Dato Johari served as the Kedah State Leader of the opposition from October 2022 until his resignation on the 13th of December 2022 to take his oath as the Yang Dipertua Dewan Rakyat on the 19th of December 2022. On June 5th, 2023, Tan Sri Dato Johari bin Abdul was conferred the Darjah Kebesaran Panglima Setia Mahkota, the second highest federal award which carries the title Tan Sri by Yang Dipertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Bilal Shah. He will be speaking on the topic of ASEAN and the ASEAN century. As we know, as Pa Rector said, the world is gravitating towards Asia, and we are at the heart of this geopolitical change, and we would be very happy to learn and to listen from Yang Dipertua Dewan Rakyat Tan Sri Dato Johari bin Abdul. Without further ado, I'd like to invite His Excellency to the podium. Time is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. It's very well-learned moderator who graduate from US and UK, I believe. Yang berbahagia Rektor Profesor Kamarudin, sahabat-sahabat saya, para akademia dan juga para pelajar-pelajar, saya difahamkan oleh Profesor Kamarudin ada yang pernah mengajar di universitas di Malaysia, UUM, profesor di belakang sana. UUM was sitting on in a jungle, a huge jungle. It's a beautiful campus. It is bordering to Thailand. So when you do jogging, you need to bring your passport. Sometimes without realizing it, you might pass the gate and you end up in Thailand. You are not in trouble. Your wife is in trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. First of all, it's an honor to be invited to speak to the academia and students today. I'm not a lecturer. I'm a politician. I'm a businessman. And I was a diplomatic officer. I started my life as a banker, actually. That is where I met my wife. She works in the same bank. And the bank is a very small bank. So we keep, every single minute you keep bumping on each other. So finally I said, why don't you marry me? That's it, we settled many problems. Alhamdulillah. And from there, I moved to become a diplomatic officer. I was serving the mission for 14 years at various capacity, including in Los Angeles, taking care of our Malaysian students down there. Then I came back to join the business community after resigning from the diplomatic service, because I had the intention of becoming a politician. In Malaysia, I believe in Indonesia too, if you want to be a politician, you have to have money to begin with. Because if you do not have the money and you become politician, you make money after you are in politics. That's where corruption come in. And I got to know many top people, people who are successful in business world, and I also learned from there how to make good money, good clean money, and some bad money. You know, these people make two types of money, the good money and the bad money. And of course, finally, I became the politician, MP, for 3 years, 3 terms. And Alhamdulillah, we were in a position, and Anwar Ibrahim is my president. We were struggling with him for 25 years. He went to jail for 3 times, total up to 12 years. 12 years in jail. And I was in jail, but visiting him. I was never been caught and arrested and put in jail. So I visited him a couple of times. So I understand what jail is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, I had also the honor of, or for that matter, I've been talking to Professor Kamarudin. I owe Indonesia a lot. I have 8 children with 1 wife. Let me underline that, 1 wife, because she's here. I make sure that I make that statement right. I got 8 children. Out of 8, 6 of them are doctors, 4 dentists, and 2 medical doctors. And I owe Indonesia because 3 of my daughters who are dentists are graduated from Indonesia. Thank you very much. 2 of them are dentists from USU, University Sumatera Utara, one of the oldest university in Indonesia, or South Asia for that matter, in school dentistry. And the other one graduated from Trisakti, one of the best university also in Indonesia. And the other one is a boy, graduated from University Islam Bandung, Unisba, in the medical field. He is supposed to be a doctor. At the age of 26, he decided to be a politician. And today he's a member of parliament, and among the youngest member of parliament in Malaysia. I was talking to Professor Kamarudin that Indonesia had a lot of potential. And we recognize that because you have the resources. The most important thing is that human resource. The people are hardworking and the people are intelligent. That's why I decided to send my children to Indonesia. There are 3 reasons. Number 1, the ability to communicate. I was astonished when I first came to Indonesia, when I was a student in University Malaya, way back in 1974. The first visit I had to Indonesia was 1975. Some of you are not born yet, you are still in heaven that time. 1975, UI. I was invited as a student leader to UI, University Indonesia. That was 1975. And some of those taxi drivers could speak like a lecturer to me. I said, my God, these people, are they graduates? You know, the ability to speak to articulate issues. And when we speak to your students, I feel like, my God, this is where the first encounter with the Indonesian intellectual, I would say, even though they are taxi drivers, but the ability to speak, the ability to raise the issues and to send the points home, and that is your strength. Of course, the second reason was the expression. The Indonesians are people full of words, and you are rich with culture because of 3,000 islands coming from various kind of ethnicity, but your culture are solid. And of course, the third reason is that, this is quite funny, but it's true. Students at university are able to teach, not only to learn, but to touch their patient even though they are in university. Before they even graduate, the medical student at year 5 are able to even touch. Even my son was telling me he did delivery when he was a year 5. Which will never happen in any European university, or even University Malaya, or even universities in Malaysia, because you are not allowed to even touch patients when you are a student. Of course, the last reason is they are near home, meaning to say that I'm a father of 8. I don't want to take chances. Flying from Kuala Lumpur to Jakarta is only 1 hour plus. If anything happens, I can always be here on a night flight. And I thought I'm very protective of them. But somehow or other, my boy, I tried to make sure that he come back and choose a Malay girl, a Malaysian girl. But somehow or other, father can rancang, but yang menentukan Tuhan. He choose an Indonesian girl. Alhamdulillah, they are getting married soon with an Indonesian girl. So Bapak kita gitu bersaudara kita Alhamdulillah, Mr. Moderator, the topics is very, very interesting topic today, ASEAN and the Asian century. I was quite lucky because I was in Parliament for 15 years before I was appointed as the Speaker to the House. And I was an opposition leader. I was in the opposition camp until 2018, when we won and managed to be in the government. 2018, when Mahathir again come back after 22 years. Somehow or other, he came back as a second time Prime Minister, second tour. The first tour was 22 years, and his second tour, the arch enemy of Anwar Ibrahim, now become the Prime Minister. What a politics is this? But anyhow, and somehow or other, with the sanction of the king that time, Anwar was released from prison, and his wife, Dr. Wan Aziza, was made the Deputy Prime Minister. But somehow or other, the marriage doesn't last long, because they have been quarreling for 22 years. And Mahathir and Anwar, long story. I can have another lecture. The professor can invite me to talk about that. You will, please. Thank you very much. But anyhow, the marriage collapsed. After 22 months, then Mahathir was toppled by his own party members and leaders, and we're back to become the opposition. Then again, we come back. We came back last general election, and we won. And now that Anwar is the Prime Minister, and with the majority of the member of Parliament voted for me, then I am the Speaker. Now, with that capacity, I'm able to meet a lot of world leaders. Since I was a MP, I've been traveling quite extensively. And this year alone, I've again traveled extensively to many countries. And I've been meeting a lot of people. And I can feel the respect of the other world leaders to the Asians. Because, as Professor Kamarudin was saying, that the 19th century was a British civilization, I would say, and the 20th is American, but the 21st is going to be the Asian. Now, you like it or not, there are two living examples that we can be proud of what is happening. Within less than 50 years, China can eradicate poverty. I just visited China recently. My first visit to China was 1980, when I was in service as the diplomatic officer. But then recently, about a few months back, when I visited China and with some reading, my God, I was made to understand they almost have zero poverty. They eradicate poverty. And in Shanghai alone, they have thousands of millionaires, not hundreds, meaning to say that within 50 years, they can eradicate poverty. And Chinese investment in the world are spread out from east to west, south to north. That is a simple example that is very, very visible as far as economy is concerned. Now, the second country that I would like to refer to is the UAE, especially in Dubai. The population was only 9.5, 9.6 million, the population, but their citizen is about 1 million. And 50 years ago, Dubai was just a sleepy, fishing village, nothing. And today, Dubai, every 2 minutes, there'll be a plane take off or landing in the airport. Last 3 weeks, we were there. And the city that never sleeps. And not only that, the city that never sleeps, but very interestingly, you have a country that uses other people's brain and mind to work for them. Mind you, when you reach at the age of 60, you have to leave the country. You can be a professor, you can be anything, but this is how smart they are. I reap your intelligence, your ability, and your strength to work for me, but bye-bye when you are 60. You go back. Because I don't want to take responsibility of your old age. I don't want to take responsibility of whatever comes after 50. Thank God I'm yet to be there 60. I think I'm 42 this year. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to the academia. I'm talking to the people that certainly we go back to university. Some of you are lecturers probably. And when we gather today here, we are looking at what's happening, what will be happening in next millennium probably. Now the world is changing. And certainly, almost certainly, I would say, without any doubt, that China is going to be world economy. You like it or not? China is going to be world economy. And China is in Asia. The spillover of their development would affect everybody, especially in this region in ASEAN. And this is where things become very interesting. If you realize, or you might not, ASEAN has a population of 680 million people. Between you and me, Indonesia and Malaysia, combined, we have 300 million people, meaning to say half of the ASEAN population are located here. Can you imagine the kind of strength that we have? Can you imagine the kind of opportunity that we have? If we combine the forces, the labor, the intelligence, the money, the experience, plus when the China become world economy, we should take position now to prepare for the future. This is where you and I become important today. What are the areas we are talking about today? What are the things that are become topics of the world today? Number one is the food security. You have the land. Indonesia has the land. Thailand has land. Malaysia has land. Laos has land. Every one of us has land. And we have the technology. We have the people. And Chinese in China have all the expertise and the capital. We should be working with them together to make sure that ASEAN become the hub where the food security should be landed here. We should be the stockpile here, because whatever happened at the end of the world, either war, Russia in Ukraine, or any war, it will not affect us, because we should be the stockpile. We should have food to take care of our population. Number two, the world is so concerned. In fact, I just came back from European Parliament together with your Dr. Fadli Zone and the rest of the Indonesian team. Suddenly, the world is talking about climate change. This is problem with the American and the European when they have cut down all their trees and they have no more trees and they're complaining about the climate change. And they're telling us, don't cut, no more trees, huh? No more trees. Then we ask them, why? Because we don't have no more trees, you have trees. Please, save the world. Okay, fine. But again, 50% of our good land are covered by forests. Now God has given us this Surya, the sun. For years, we do not know what to do with the sun. And we complain, oh panas lah, panas pak. Bila panas pak, kita beli aircon dari Malaysia. We perlukan electricity, kita bakar batu bara. Just to settle the heat problem, you buy aircon and you pollute by bakar batu bara. Now that technology has advanced, we should do away with fossil. We should do away with batu bara. We should do away with burning of the charcoal. Look around us. What are the renewable energy? Look at us. How do we turn this into a green energy? That at the end of the day, not only that we use it today, but again for tomorrow and day after. So that the whole population of today and population years to come will be safe and safe. That's why the green energy come into the picture. Alhamdulillah, Malaysia and Indonesia have come to that agreement that we will employ all the resources like solar system, biomass, biogas, and hydro. And we have abundance of that when overlooked. But these are the resources and source of energy that contribute to the betterment of the world and planet. Now, people are complaining that we are cutting down all our forests because we are growing palm oil. And when I was in Europe, people come, no, we are not buying from Indonesia because they cleared all the jungle. They even kill this orang-utan. I asked them, how many orang-utan around? Oh, they say, no, many. Have you seen the orang-utan? We have not seen the orang-utan, but they look like orang lah. So that is what they were saying, that we were destroying the world because we produce palm oil. Malaysia too, same thing. They say, you are burning your jungle because you are cutting all your trees and you're polluting the world. Okay, said. But actually, we have made, there was a policy made by 2050, we will go 100% by using RE, renewable energy and green energy. Now the issue now that I want to talk about is, you are one of the world producers of oil. Malaysia also one of the producers of oil. You also produce coal. Now when people are changing from fossil, from coal burning to other resources, to energy, then you're talking about your economy. You're no more, your oil doesn't become top priority in your income and Malaysian income anymore. People are changing from driving a vehicle driven by petrol to cars and vehicles driven by electricity. So the world is changing now. So our GDP will be affected if we still rely on oil and coal and some other stuff. So this is where we should think fast. This is why innovative and innovation should come in. This is where professors and people like you, those who are postgraduate students, should think what would be our alternative, rather than depending on these elementary products, to move to a certainly to a better and much advanced product needed by our population and the population of the world. Now, another area that I want to talk about is that how do we together, as if you were to see, during the 19th and 20th century, when the American and the British and the American have the power, they are very selfish people. They are very self-centered. The British conquer the world, bring back whatever they had to Britain. That's why when you go to see those castles, those beautiful buildings in London, you have a heartbreak. Your heart bleeds because you know those big, beautiful castles are built because of our sweet, sad moments of life, because our treasures are brought back from our country, from India, from Malaysia. And you go to Europe, the people that were here in your country, the Dutch. I was recently in Paris, and there's one town, Starbucks. Could see beautiful buildings with what you call it, a facade and stuff like that. But you know, and I know, those buildings were built through our sweat and tears. But nevertheless, this is what's happening at the moment. When Asians, the rising star is here, the shift is here. But one thing about Asian, we share prosperity. We share knowledge. When we talk about ASEAN and Asian, as Professor Cameron said, we have that bond. And this is, I think, should not only that prolong, but I think between us, we should help each other. I believe there's to be a lot of program that we can introduce. Exchange of students to various universities, exchange of professors to various universities, cultural exchange, academic exchange. And I not only among Malaysian and Indonesia, but among ASEAN countries and countries of other parts of Asia. I was in Uzbek last month, Uzbekistan. When when you read articles, people saying that Uzbek is just an ex-Russia, and they are developing nation, blah, blah, blah. No. But surprisingly, I'm promoting if you could visit Uzbek. It's a beautiful country. Of course, Imam Bukhari from Uzbek. We were in the two cities there. And not only that, it's a beautiful country. The people are very hardworking. There are a lot of Indonesian down there. There's one good university. There's one Indonesian professor has been there for the last 15 years. I spoke to the professor. He said, yeah, there's an exchange program with Uzbek University. But the most important thing, when I spoke to their leaders, and I learned something that is very interesting. And they said, this is a thing that we Uzbek believe in. And they are part of us. What is number one? Is to have a dream. Every Uzbek must have a dream. What kind of country they want Uzbek to be in future? So the first one is the dream. You must have dream. And number two, because remember, they were under Russia for a long, long time. And Russia has dominated them for a long, long time. And Uzbek is a Muslim country. It's not easy to practice Islam and rituals in Uzbek because you're under Russia. But they have a dream, this dream of liberating their country, progress their country, and put their country in a spot where people respect. Number two is courage. And that is inculcated in their curriculum, school curriculum, that every student should have courage to say yes or no, to work hard for the country. And I learned that. And I told many of my colleagues in Malaysia that these are a few things that I learned from Uzbek. That's why Imam Bukhari, one of the respected scholars, even wrote books. And he was from Bukhara, and he's not an Arab. He went to Mecca and became the most respected scholar. Even until today, his book is referred. And the last thing is that it's knowledge. They want every Uzbek to have knowledge. So DCK, dream, courage, and knowledge. And every Uzbek can speak 4 languages. Every Uzbek can speak 4 languages. I'm so embarrassed when I said I am a Malaysian, I can speak only 2 languages. And they can speak 4 languages, almost every one of them. So back to where we are today, we have to be vigilant, we have to be prepared, we have to be educated, because things are coming, you like it or not. As I said, China is going to boom economy. People look up at us because we have a policy on green energy. And people look at us because we have land, labor, and money for the food security. So this is about, now is a time to act together. Now is a time to understand each other well and be prepared to receive this moment of glory, I would say. And how do we take advantage of the situation so that not only today, but the future of ASEAN and the future of Asians will be guaranteed. So what I'm saying here in my closing, probably we have Q&A after it, is that we here in this hall, you are a different set of people, you are a different class of people. You are the one that will determine if your academia, whatever it is to produce leadership. What is lacking in university is that we teach, kita mengajar, we teach people, we impart all kind of knowledge to them. But what is missing, through my experience in university, looking at not only that Malaysian university, but some other universities around this region also, that what is missing is that we do not put enough emphasis to produce leaders. We should by now have programs, not only political leaders, but I'm saying is that leaders in every discipline. If you're an engineer, engineering faculty, not only that they're good engineers, but they should be leaders in engineering. If they're in medicine, they should be leaders in medicine, leaders in economy, leaders in social sciences, leaders in various. Meaning to say that we should take the lead. We should be leader in that particular discipline. Because being follower is not enough. Having PhD and you stick that PhD certificate on your wall and you're happy about it, no. That's only part of it. But we must be leaders. We must take extra mile to be leaders in that particular discipline that we are in. And I believe if we do that, then the whole generation, years to come, will be on the right groove. So what we are doing now, that we are creating a groove now. We should create that groove now, not tomorrow. Because things are happening, things are changing. So with that, I will end here. I'll take question from you. Inshallah, the one that can answer, I can answer. But the one that I cannot answer, Professor Kamuddin will do it for me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Tan Sri. All music to our ears. What Tan Sri has been talking about, I think we all agree. If I may, before we start the Q&A, I'd like to highlight some points that he made that is very important to us to discuss. Number one, I think we all agree that the world is gravitating toward Asia. Europe and US now face their own serious problem, domestically speaking, and yet Asia, Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and all, we are doing well, economically speaking. If you look at the data, countries in Southeast Asia did well even during the pandemic. We grow on average about 5%, and which is, I think, is a high number compared to many other countries outside Southeast Asia. Number two, Tan Sri has been the good friend of Indonesia, but I now can make a confession that I'm a silent admirer of Malaysian politicians, because in so many global issues, I learned that Malaysian politicians and policymakers, they are very open-minded. If I may cite two examples. Right? Number one, when TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, initiated by President Obama in his last term before it was killed by Donald Trump, two Southeast Asian countries decided to join TPP. That includes Malaysia and the Philippines, or in Vietnam. While in Indonesia, we could not make our mind. We were debating, and yet we did not make any decision. Now, I observe for Malaysia, their consideration was not about the cost of joining TPP. What we in Indonesia tend to think that way. What is the cost of joining TPP? The US initiated trading organization, so to speak. But what Malaysians think was the cost of not joining. That would, if they are not in TPP, they would not benefit economically, right? So that, I think, very rational calculation. Maybe in Indonesia, there has been some kind of anti-Americanism still, a little bit. So that part was, TPP is American-made and so on, so we decided not to join. But for Malaysia has been a staunch critic of the US, but yet when it comes to economic rational calculation, Malaysia has been very rational. And second, if you look at the data, if my memory correct, until 2-3 years ago, the largest trading partners of China is not Indonesia. Regardless of the fact that Indonesia is the largest country, the largest trading partner of China is Malaysia. Right? So Malaysia plays with the US and plays with China, while Indonesia, we are kind of pushing away, right? In a way, we know what we don't want, but we don't know what we want. So that's why I'm a secret admirer of Malaysian policymakers and politicians. Now, number 3, I think lessons, all meats that Tan Sri has been discussed. I think a lot to swallow for us, but from his experience, I think it also reflects one thing that our region share, that is democracy is thriving, right? Tan Sri was the opposition in the opposition camp. Now, Tan Sri is in power. The lesson is that if you are in power, this is for our student, you will be future leader, right? If you are in power, do not crush your opponent to the ground, because politics alternate. You will be in power this day, next day you will be in opposition, or you will be in jail. Lessons from Tan Sri and what has been going on in Malaysia, I think is very important for Indonesia as we are approaching election in 2024. Second lesson, I think, do not insulate ourselves from the outside world. Tan Sri has been mentioning about his visit to Uzbekistan, to Europe, and to discuss with world leaders our point of view. And that relates to one issue, that is climate change. And I agree with Tan Sri that, and I'm happy to report that our Faculty of Social Sciences, we opened a program on Master of Public Policy on climate change in order to galvanize views from the global south, because we are facing pressures from Europe and from other developed world when it comes to the issue of climate change, and we have to have our standpoint on climate change. And Tan Sri has highlighted why ASEAN Century is coming, you like it or not, that it's a fact that we have all the resources that can contribute to us tackling the global problem that we are facing right now, food security. We have massive lands in Southeast Asia, agricultural sector that is very vast and large, and that's, I think, what would contribute to the problem of the food security that the world is facing right now. And in terms of climate change, we are, maybe we have not yet accumulated enough knowledge, but we are the source of renewable energies, solar, wind powers that have yet to be cultivated. And I think this is the task of university. Lastly, I think the formula of DCK, dream, courage, and knowledge, now should be our new mantra, especially for our students, because we are old generation, right? Tan Sri is 40 years, according to him, and I'm 25. So we have to adopt this DCK formula. Now, I'd like to open the session of Q&A. Please raise your hand and identify your name and your institution before you start asking questions. And please be brief so we can accommodate more questions. Please. if you don't have question, Tan Sri will be very, okay, all right. Yes, please.
Hello. Thank you very much. It was a very nice presentation. Actually, it was good news for us that Asian century is coming. But my question is that if we see the relationship between the Asian countries inside this region, I mean, India relation with Pakistan, Pakistan relation with Afghanistan, Saudi relation with Iran, and these countries do not have as good relation with each other as it is needed. So what will be the consequences of these, I would say, bad relationship with countries to each other, and what will be the opportunities for other regions, I mean for the United States or for the Europe, that they will take advantages of this bad relationship with that the countries do have with each other? Thank you.
Where are you from, by the way?
My name is Amanullah from Afghanistan, and
Afghanistan.
a student of political science.
Thank you very much. Well, I still believe strongly that the best mean for social mobility, vertical mobility, is education. Education. Because I think believe Indonesia, Malaysia, and some of the countries within the region, you know that ASEAN, talking about ASEAN, literacy rate at the moment, the adult literacy rate is 94%. Meaning to say that 94% of the adult in ASEAN could read and write. And I think that is a key factor that put us together. Because illiterate kills. When you cannot read and write, and when only you listen, and you make judgment to yourself, this is where the problem begins. So I believe what we should do at the moment is that everyone, every leaders on every country should spend more time and money on promoting education. Of course, you need security. Of course, you need to buy arsenal and armament. But again, you cannot discount that education is a very vital and very important. But back to the question of problems that you have in your country and Pakistan and the rest. You like it or not, it is about economy. I don't believe it's about ideology. It's about economy. If you have enough economy, if you have enough for everyone, and the leaders do the right thing, and I believe your problem will be solved. So the problem that we have in subcontinent and some other areas, when you have other people influence, you become influence your decision making, then you become the chessboard. So we are in this region, especially ASEAN, because of our ability to think, ability to make our own decision, the ability to communicate, the ability to solve problems. Well, yeah, we do have problems. Giving good example like China, Malaysia, China, Vietnam, China, Philippines, we do have problems. We do. Because of the claim in South China Sea. And we know that what is underneath South China Sea, we know. But we don't play, we don't magnify that problem to become political issues. This is how we should handle. That is a separate issue altogether. But that deter our relationship. Because the bigger agenda is to make sure that everybody is safe and everybody have a chance to live happily. I mean, South Asia has adopted zone of peace and neutrality, ZOFAN. So we maintain that for years. And though we do have problems with China, but we isolate those issues separately and handle it separately. And I think, of course, I have no immediate answer to your problems in subcontinent and part of the world and part of the region. But nevertheless, I still strongly believe you should communicate. Communicating should be the answer. If you can't communicate, then you have problem there. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Dato, for stimulating lectures. We know that ASEAN is the home of all religions, and we do have some problems about religions. And what happened now in India and other regions that have diversity in religion. What do you think the future of the ASEAN century in terms of religious conflict? Thanks.
Okay, this is the problem of the ages. Every time there is an election coming, someone will jump on two issues. Number one, religious issue. Number two, racial issues. These are the cheapest. And it's just the politician, not the masses. It is the politician who are the culprit. Because this is the cheapest issue that you can jump on, and this is the most, I would say, contagious issues. And the moment you touch on it, you have free support. People work for you, and at the end of the day, the politician that reap the benefit, but you destroy the whole nation. Look at all countries in the world. Not only that within this ASEAN, even you go Ireland, the Catholic and the Protestant, they were fighting for years, and thousands died for no reason, just what we call it. This is I don't even call belief. I don't even call belief. This is just a manipulation of a politician, their politics. So the order I had an opportunity of talking to your speaker in Algiers early this year. I said if our education system we put it right on the what I call it footing, and only education system can curtail and manage these issues. So if you miss this opportunity of getting this education system right from day one, then you are going to face this problem. So as I said, I'm a strong believer in getting the education system placed as early as possible. And I think, and it's not expensive, rather than you let it go. Then you want to crack when the things has exploded into out of hand. That's going to be very dangerous, and it's very expensive when a country go haywire. So again, education system, and put things right from day one. I think I believe in that. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, hello, Tan Sri. Thank you so much for the very engaging lecture. I'm Nia Deliana, faculty member at the Faculty of Social Sciences. So just happened, I graduated from UIA, Malaysia. Yeah, 2 years ago. So my question is related to the topic of South-South problem. As you know, you mentioned about the quality of the prospect of combination of potential between Malaysia and Indonesia, right? But as you see, perhaps you know better than me that ASEAN as an association has its own problem, where it's now just become a community organization because of rivalry, Asian rivalry. Let's say, for instance, we have to admit that there is that kind of level of rivalry between Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. So how do you advise on giving some kind of tips or strategy in the future if this Asian century are gonna be a good prospect for developments in this region? And also the second one, I would like to ask about the shared material cultures that we have. Basically, can be one of the solution perhaps for this combination of potential. But as you know, there is a kind of a political condition that going on that trying to separate between the cultures. That like saying, oh, Indonesia's culture is basically Malaysia's culture, or Malaysia's culture is basically Indonesian culture. So basically, what I see is that all of this is a shared culture of the Southeast Asian regions. No state should claim it to belong to one only state. So what do you think about this? Thank you.
Thank you. I remember a story. one day, a professor told the class of 20 students, I'm going to have a surprise, a candid exam for you all. So what professor did was that everyone is given a piece of paper, and when the time comes, he said, okay, now overturn that paper. And everybody saw there's nothing, no written nothing, except a black dot right in the middle of that paper. And the professor said, okay, no question, but I'm going to give verbal question now to you. Write down what you feel about this paper. This one piece of white paper. So a lot of students were writing, and 99.9% wrote about that black dot on that paper. This black dot shouldn't be this big, shouldn't be not this, everyone. Now, what the professor was saying that, look here, this is a problem with us. You shouldn't be writing about that black dot. You should be writing about the white paper. The black dot is probably just a dot, but you have inches and inches of the white paper that you missed. This is exactly to answer your question. We magnify small issues. We never talk about the big issues. You talk about cultural differences, and you have thousands of acres underutilized. You have professors and students of agriculture underemployed. These are the things we should be thinking. How many students that you have who are trained in agriculture, how much money that we had in Singapore that we can combine together to develop the land in Indonesia, to develop the land in Malaysia, to develop the land in other parts of the world by using Indonesian technology or the Vietnamese technology. That should be our focus, rather than you talk about these small issues which don't even disturb our way of life at all. And this is your peranan, this is your role and my role, to tell the leaders of today, you guys should be thinking big rather than on small matters. And mind you, the one that spoil the soup are the politician. So choose the right politician. Send a strong message to them. And politicians will not be what they are today if we have the right education. I tell you one example. Sorry, Prof. I'm very emotional about this thing. I just came back from Cambodia. Again, I met Dr. Fadli Zon and Pak Kutu daripada Bali, MP from Bali. I tell you what, the present government won with hands down. They won the election. And they have the longest or the oldest and longest prime minister in the world, Hun Sen, for 38 years prime minister. And they have the oldest and the longest speaker, who become speaker over 20 years in the parliament in Cambodia. Now, I had opportunity of spending good time with Hun Sen, the prime minister. First, I said, sir, congratulations for being the longest serving prime minister in the world. And number two, I said, sir, I was in Cambodia in 1998 when Reformasi happened, and many of my friends escaped from KL to Jakarta. And Jakarta helped my friends, including Saifuddin Nasution, now he's a home minister. They were given refuge in Jakarta. But I couldn't make it in Jakarta, so I left for Cambodia. I stayed in Kampong Cham in Cambodia. Then, after everything done, I came back. After almost 20 years, I went back to Phnom Penh. And recently, it is like macam dikatakan orang Indonesia, bumi dengan langit. The development was tremendous. The city was so clean, and the development was beautiful. Now I asked him that question. I said, sir, how do you do it? Now, this is his answer. Listen carefully. You can call whatever system you want. The world is watching and the world might criticize you. Oh, you have done this. Oh, this is not democratic. Oh, blah, 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 blah. You are not following human rights, blah, blah, blah. The system is one thing. But do people benefit from that system? You can have beautiful system up there, but if the people are fighting among themselves and there's no peace and no food on the table, is that what we call good system? Or I introduce one system until today, everyone is happy, everyone is, I would say, have the opportunity of going to school and having opportunity to access of education and everything else. And the most important thing is that when during their general election, I don't even see a flag, not even a flag or posters, because the population understand what general election is all about, how voting is happening. So they go to the voting places to vote, voting station to vote, as if it's just a fiesta. And suddenly you have a result. And we were invited to witness the voting process and the counting process. It's so transparent. What I'm saying is that the population were educated what democracy is all about and how it is done. You know why? He said, this is the final parting word. We have gone through civil war and we kill each other for 4 million people during the killing field. And we do not want to happen again. So what I'm saying here is that whatever it is, the most important thing is that to get our people educated, to understand that if the politician misled us, if the politician misinform or fool us, because politicians come and go, but the population stay. The politicians come and go, but the population stay. Especially you study in Malaysia. How many parties has Dr. Mahathir created? How many parties keep on jumping from one another? And he's still today, almost 99 years old. And he's creating a new party. So if you have this kind of leaders, I'm not criticizing him, but I'm very critical. No, you can't do that. You see? Politicians come and go, but the population stay. That's very important. That is very important. That's why education system must be right. And that's why we got to educate our people to have sense of belonging, sense of understanding, and respecting each other. The most important thing, like Indonesia, love your country. That's it. Once you have that, you are okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, my name is Shafi Anwar. I am a lecturer. Okay. Me Dato. Tan Sri. Okay. Yeah, well, it's very interesting to learn from you, and your public lecture here is very, very enlightening. Thanks for that. Well, frankly speaking, I have mixed feeling if we talk about ASEAN and the Asian century. In this regard, first of all, from the perspective of optimism, optimistic perspective, I would suggest that it's reminding with the book, with one of my favorite book, written by Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, The ASEAN Renaissance, which is very, very interesting and promising as well. On the other side, is from the optimistic perspective, is that, you know, Kishore Mahbuban also mentioned the 7 pillars of ASEAN century, which is related to free market and then law, education, etc., which well, you know, written actually. This is optimistic perspective. In a way of, especially in terms of economy, education, yes, indeed, yeah, ASEAN making significant progress. However, in terms of democracy and human rights, there is a regression. Many scholars, yeah, whether from the West, from the East, is that mentioned that about democratic regression in Southeast Asia. Look what happened in, you know, Myanmar, what happened, and you just explain about the situation in Cambodia. Yeah. In this regard, I'm frankly speaking a bit disagree with you, because you know, the longest Prime Minister, I mean Hun Sen, you know, like or dislike, it is very, very important that this is part of authoritarianism. Yeah, because you know, remember that it is very, very important to remind the political proof that you know, power tends to corrupt. Absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely, because in this regard is that what happened in Myanmar, etc., is showing the capacity of the regime to develop authoritarianism. So in this regard, I have mixed feeling about the future of ASEAN in dealing the issue. Yes, indeed, in economy, education is okay, but you know, in terms of democracy, human right look like having regression. What's your opinion in this regard? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. As saying goes, Rome is not built in a day. Rome is not built in a day. It takes a very long time. And if you were to see ASEAN, and we have a different kind of system and different kind of regime. And traditionally, even traditionally, Malaysia was colonized by the British. You were colonized by the Dutch. Philippines were colonized by Spaniard and American. Then you go to Vietnam by the French. So the legacies are different. They left different system. We've gone through different kind of phases of life. So those experiences somehow or other were left over to us. And those are the things sometimes are carried on by our politicians. You know, first generation, second generation, now probably third generation. But the phasing out is happening. Of course, we were critical on certain issues. But you like it or not, we got to appreciate their experiences and historical background. Giving good example. Now, among the ASEAN countries, you want to condemn, you want to boycott Myanmar, blah, 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 blah. You can do wonders. But does it solve the problem? You can burn the city. But does it solve the problem? Or do you engage with them? To me, it's engagement. You advise them, engage. Their internal problem will not interfere at all. No. Because to them, they have their own differences. We do not know, we don't even understand A to Z what's happening there. We do not know. What we do is we read, of course. And who wrote those things, articles, sometimes are among their friends, sometimes are their enemies. So the reality of life in that particular spot are not known to everyone. So to me, as leaders, I would rather engage. Eventually, we are not isolating them. They are part of us. They are part of ASEAN. So when you see your neighbors, your friends, are getting from A to A1, AB, and progressing, somehow the dear leaders, I believe, they also have moral issues here. There are some malu lah juga when the neighbors are. But eventually, those junta will go one day. Progress will happen. I mean, you take these experiences of Europe, Middle East, somehow. So that is what's happening. So to me, as a leader, I would rather engage. I will not isolate them, or I will not even for what you call it, total boycott for that matter. Yes, we understand. Yes, we sympathize with the Muslim, Rohingya Muslim. Yes, but there are larger issue than that. So even that, the world is. I mean, another good what call it for example is you take like Israel for that matter. So we understand what's going on. So, by the end of the day, what do you do then? So, this international politics and local issues are two different issues together. So, and we are part and parcel of this civilization. We can't run away. We can't isolate. So, the best thing to do is to engage. That's, I think, my position. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tashilan ni watafiman nakun antiku intelisiatan. The first, let me introduce myself. My name is Ardi Nugraha. I'm come from Indonesia and I'm fresh graduate of Al Azhar Cairo University. And I would like to say thank you for this precious opportunity. As we hear, there is so many problems that's happening in this century. So I would like to ask about what is our role, our purpose, and our steps as a college students to face this century, and how we can survive as a college students in this century, especially in this ASEAN century. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that you asked that question because I could see this is an opportunity for me to say this. Number one, be the best student. Believe in yourself that you can change the world. Don't say no to anything else. Believe in yourself and as a dream. What kind of Indonesia you want? You must have dream. What kind of Indonesia that must propel to a certain level? You must have dream that one day Indonesia will be world power. That should come from you. Before you sleep, after you wake up, Indonesia, this is my country. Raise your flag high. Because one day, God will certainly fulfill your dream. Number two, have the courage to say no or yes to certain things through your belief. And you are a student of Sharia. You learn about these issues. Kita ada tazkirah, we have all these prophet and all kind of example. Follow them. And finally, be a leader. Not only among you, but be a leader of your community, and finally be a leader of your country. That is your role to play from today, the moment you walk out from that door. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, and thank you very much, Tan Sri, for your speech and lecture today. My name is Rivaldi. I was a student of Dr. Mazli Malik, who finally has joined your party, and junior of Syed Sadiq, and at the same time a student also a student of Dato Marzuki, a loyalist advisor of Muhyiddin Yassin, who is your enemy right now. All right. I have a very short question, actually. What happens to Malaysian politics today? You know, since the certain moves, it seems so confusing. It has been very, very confusing. And I may ask Pak Philips, I may ask the academics, I may ask my friends in Malaysia, but now I want to listen from the first hand, from the elites itself, what happens to Malaysian politics today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you believe in democracy? If you believe, that what this is about. Democracy survives in Malaysia. Number one. Number two, do you believe in leadership? Yes, there's a living example. A man who has been jailed, who has been there for years, no money, nothing. But when you believe that the truth will prevail, when you believe that one day God will answer your prayers, that's what Anwar Ibrahim is all about. He has no money. I follow him blindly, to be frank with you. After I left the civil service as diplomat, I joined the private sector. I was a millionaire at the age of 42. Good income, everything. But when he was treated that way, he was beaten by the police with black eye, and he was thrown into jail. The next day, I left my business to join him. I lost millions because of that. And I was selling petty trading, tepi jalan, to survive with my wife and few kids that time. But I strongly believe That time, 1998, the existence of God, and God will answer our prayers. So day in, day out, we are pushing for democracy. Day in, day out, we are fighting Mahathir. Day in, day out, we are telling the world that, look here, this is kezaliman. This is injustice. This is tyrant. We call Mahathir Maha Fir'aun. Not only Fir'aun, Maha Fir'aun. Tyrant. A man who control parliament, who control police, who control everything. But we are young men. We shall fight you to the end. Fight we fought. Thank God, after 25 years, Anwar Ibrahim is the Prime Minister of Malaysia. And I am a Speaker of the House. Logically, I have 8 children, and 6 of my children will not be doctors, if not by the help of God. I have no money, nothing. Anwar Ibrahim will not be Prime Minister of today because he has no money. But the people give him the vote. Act of God. You got to believe in it. You got to believe in God. You got to believe in democracy. You got to believe what you are doing right. That's why you got to do right thing in life. Because that right thing will be rewarded by God. Believe me, I've gone through that. Believe me. And that's what democracy is about. And that's what Malaysia is all about. We throw him out, we pick him back, we throw him again. But that's what we are. And that system and law allow that. But do Anwar arrest him and put him in jail? No. He even forgive him. The moment he stepped out of the prison and become Prime Minister, he said, I forgive Dr. Mahathir. I said, so are you crazy? He said, no. But if he crosses the line, and if today Mahathir guilty of stealing people's money, we'll send him to jail. Because we have laws that govern us. And that's what democracy is all about. So he doesn't have that vindictive. Anwar doesn't have that vindictive stature. Oh, the moment I am in power, I'll get you arrested, you get arrested. No. Anwar said no. We have law. We have governance. Proceed accordingly. So it's okay. That's what we are. Of course, we have religious extremism. We have this and that. That's normal. Slowly, we have to handle that. We can understand. But as long as they are within the purview of law, they don't go beyond the boundary of law. To me, it's okay. So far, I have not taken stern action against my MP. As long as I say, look here, brother, there's a red line. Don't cross the red line. I don't want to kill you. So far, I'm doing okay, I think, in the parliament. I'm okay. Those who are trying to be, then I call them, talk to them. But I think as long as, to me, very simple, I have constitution to uphold, and this is the highest law, highest document that we are holding. So that will govern us. As long as we have that in place, I think we are okay. Okay, brother? Alhamdulillah. Yes, sir.
We are really excited indeed, actually, right? And entertained with the presentations of Excellency Tan Sri Dato. It's very entertaining and very insightful presentation. I think I agree with you that Malaysia and Indonesia are strategic because of number of reasons. You said that we are resourceful. We also have the sizable amount of population, right? We can be center of logistic. And China dominance is unavoidable, right? We have to prepare, you like it or not. Even we have to get engaged, right? Now we have some domestic issue I would like to address. We might learn from you, I think, for instance.
in Indonesia, as you might have learned, we still have numbers of China or Chinese issues. First is that, quote unquote, anti-Chinese sentiment is still down there. Right? You know that Chinese dominating Indonesian economic, and to some extent, as a consequence, they are dominating Indonesian politics, actually. And the second is that we have these latent issues of anti-communism, right? So this is two major obstacles to me, you know, in relation to your advice that we have to get engaged with China. Recently, we have the issue of this Jakarta-Bandung railway station with numbers of economics debate and so on and so forth. I believe you share this kind of issue in Malaysia, and what you think we perhaps can learn from you, Excellency. Thank you.
I do not want to be hypocrite, but we have 20% Chinese in Malaysia, and probably you have less than 2%. We have more Chinese businessmen in Malaysia than Chinese in Indonesia. But mind you, you can't unwind history, brother. You cannot unwind history. Meaning to say that that's how our position is in Malaysia. They has been there for generations. They have contributed to the development of the nation. Of course, there are problems here and there, but they are Malaysian. They are Malaysian. Legally, they are Malaysian. So what action is taken by us is that to make sure, no, if you were to do this, you do even random survey, how many Chinese will go back to China today? Their life is in Malaysia. Their family is Malaysia. Their environment is Malaysia. They are part of Malaysia. What is missing at the moment, I'm talking about Malaysia, I'm not talking about Indonesia, is about communication. I don't understand Chinese. Some of the Chinese don't understand me as a Malay. I don't understand Indian. Some of the Indian don't understand me. So if we can scrap that barrier, do away with that barrier. If, I'm propelling this. If a Malaysian Malay can speak to another Malaysian Malay in Mandarin, if a Malaysian Chinese can speak to another Malaysian Chinese in Tamil, if I can speak English to you as Indonesian, and all of us can communicate with a language that we understand, even those with idiom, some of the jokes, I think we eliminate those problems. The problem today is understanding you. Deep in you, I don't understand that. It creates suspicious. If I don't understand you, your laugh and your perwatakan muka itu, Pak, saya kira mungkin dia tidak suka saya ini. Because I don't understand you. But I love you. Pak Kamarudin sudah menjadi bapak mertua saya. Contohnya, saya boleh communicate, there will be no problem. So now our task is to eliminate the differences, to make sure that we are blended as a society. Now, if we are successful in doing that, I said, now we can do it with ASEAN. Now, at what we call leadership, I am so comfortable with Bapak Dr. Fadli Zon. Because kita sudah berkenal. Saya juga dengan Bapak Speaker Maharani. Saya, Puan Maharani, sorry. Saya juga dengan Bapak Presiden banyak-banyak negara. Because when you eliminate that differences, somehow or other the love, the respect and the rest come into the picture. And begitu juga Pak Anwar dengan Bapak Presiden Jokowi, Bapak Anwar juga dengan Pak Prabowo, close friends. And Bapak Anwar juga dengan Presiden China. Saya dengan Bapak Speaker China. That is, I think, role of us, every one of us. Of course, I don't say that we have no problem. We do have problem. Bukan saja di kalangan Melayu, orang Indonesia dengan Cina. Melayu dengan Melayu itu kan etnik, bang. Jawanya, Bugisnya pun ada kita di sama di Malaysia. Kelantannya, Terengganonya, Selangornya sama. So I think that's a process of life. If we can eliminate that, I think we are there okay. But it takes time. Again, asasnya ya Pak, education. Understanding is education. I think as long as we believe and strongly believe in that, I think we survive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we've reached the end of this public lecture. We feel the energy, and we can continue talking until tomorrow morning, but somehow we have to end. And then I would not summarize because there are a lot to digest and a lot of inspiration from Tan Sri, and I believe it contributes a lot. And then to our students, to our faculty members, staff, and everyone in the audience, thank you for coming. And I hope your visit in 1975, when you were saying that the taxi driver that you met were able to articulate, and I hope this proof once again that Indonesians are very articulate when it comes to talking about issues. And I return, please give another round of applause to our speaker. Thank you very much. I return the microphone to our MC. Before, Pak Rector, would you like to say something?
Well, I feel that I feel energized by your speech. You are mature enough, much more than mature, being politician. I envy you. I appreciate you. I admire you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Kamudin. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ferbonte, for having chaired this lecture. Again, our gratitude should go to His Excellency Tan Sri Dato Johari bin Abdul for his brilliant presentation and insights during the discussion. We also appreciate to all attendees for participating in our Q&A session. Now, we would like to invite the Rector of the University to present souvenirs to His Excellency Dato Johari bin Abdul for this event. To the Rector, please proceed to give the souvenirs on stage while a photo will be taken by our media team. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our agenda. Once again, our sincerest gratitude for your participation, whether it is online or offline. Before we close this forum, I'd like to remind the audience that we'll have lunch boxes provided, so feel free to retrieve the meal at the entrance of this venue. Thank you very much, and we look forward to having you again in another occasion. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.